I'm Carlo Cato and welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, July 16th. Here are the details. Earlier today, this country was shaken by 5 earthquakes, which, according to the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, were felt at various places but resulted in no reported damage. NEMO says the preliminary reports from the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, Trinidad, stated that the first quake was felt at 7:01 this morning and was generated 125 kilometers northeast of Barbados at a depth of 10 kilometers. It measured 5.7 on the magnitude scale. Speaking to SVG-TV News earlier today, Director of NEMO, Howie Prince, says the largest of the quakes was felt at around 11:16 a.m.
It was also at a distance of 125 kilometers to the northeast of Barbados and measured a 6.4 on the magnitude scale. That quake was reported to be felt as far south as Trinidad and Tobago. So most people in St. Vincent Grenadines would have felt that quake. In addition to those 2 quakes, there was another at 11:29, which was generated 108 kilometers in the northeast of Barbados again and measured 4.1 on the magnitude scale. There was a quake at 11:36 that was 140 kilometers northeast of Barbados, which measured 5.3 on the magnitude scale. And the final one that was reported was at 12:23, 98 kilometers northeast of Barbados, and this one measured 3.8 on the magnitude scale. As a result of these quakes, some people would have been spooked somewhat, wondering what was happening, thinking that there's a possibility of a tsunami, for example. There was no threat of tsunami as a result of these quakes. If tsunamis that are generated this close to us would be on us very rapidly. So if a tsunami was generated by a quake that is so close to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, within minutes we would have felt the impact of that tsunami, and it would not have given us enough time to put out a warning.
Prince says they have been in touch with the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which indicated that there was no real threats of a tsunami as a result of the quakes. He, however, advised persons not to take things for granted, and that those who live next to the sea and experience a very large quake must take the necessary precautions.
Because a large quake generated in the sea can result in a tsunami. So if you're next to the sea and you feel a large quake, the thing to do is just pay more attention, start looking to run inland to higher ground, or if there are no higher ground available, any very tall building, the tallest building that you can find, just to be on the safe side. In addition to that, if you're indoor and there's an earthquake, we advocate the drop, cover and hold response. That is, you drop, you cover your head and you hold on to anything that you can until the shaking stops, which is when you should go outside. If you're outside, you stay outside in the open. Do not stay on the trees or on the electrical lines. You stay in the open area until the quakes have gone, have ceased, and that is when you may choose to go back inside. And you have to, again, after an earthquake, you check to see that the area is safe, because in a large earthquake, buildings can dislodge, parts of a building could dislodge, and it can be unsafe. Power lines could be down. So you need to be very careful about where you move, what you're doing in the aftermath of a very large quake. Again, the quakes this morning did not produce any tsunami. There was never a threat of a tsunami.
The NEMO director also made it clear that the quakes felt today were not related in any way to the La Soufrière volcano.
The series of earthquakes are associated with plate tectonics, the movement of plates in the earth, under the sea. When they move, they collide against each other. Sometimes one may move under another, generating earthquakes. There is usually one large earthquake, and there are a series of what are referred to as aftershocks as the area settles, and so they may dwindle in size until it's all gone. We have been in touch with the Seismic Research Center in St. Augustine, Trinidad also, and they themselves will put out a more comprehensive analysis of these earthquakes. But again, let me say it equivocally clear. These quakes have no relationship to La Soufrière volcano. It has nothing to do with geothermal drilling, as I've heard people saying this morning. There's no drilling going on yet, and the drilling there's no relation or there's between what is happening with these earthquakes and geothermal exploration, and there has been no threat of a tsunami. So for that, we're grateful.
2 jet bridges are now in the state and will soon be installed at the Argyle International Airport site. The equipment is from the U.S. company ThyssenKrupp, which is also responsible for the installation, expected to commence on Monday. At a media briefing earlier today at the Kingston Port, Chief Executive Officer of the International Airport Development Company, Dr. Rudy Matthias, says the jet bridges will be used as part of the retrofitting of the terminal building, which is substantially completed. Dr. Matthias says that by the end of September this year, they believe that the terminal building will be ready to allow them to start operations of the airport.
Saying that all we need to do to start the operations at Argyle is to have the terminal building retrofitted. But I'm saying that by the end of September, most of what we need in the terminal building would have been in place by the end of September. We do have some work to do on the air side, and I'm sure everybody is looking and can see that we are making good progress with the pavement works. But this month, July, tends to be one of the wettest months for us at Argyle, and the rate at which we can proceed in July tends to be a bit slower than how we are able to go in the relatively drier months. So we haven't been able to do very much work in July, and truly that is hardly any fault of ours. We know that it is going to be a wet month, so in our calculations of when we can complete the work, we took that into account. And that is why we say that we will try to complete the construction of the airside works by the end of September. Now, if we miss some time and we go over into October, I hope that people don't hold us over the barrel for that. Our objective really is to have the airport ready and operational before the end of the year. Whether that is November or early December, I am not at this time quite sure. But what I am almost certain of is that we are going to be in a position to have planes landing at Argyle.
According to Dr. Matthias, there is work taking place at the airport site, particularly on the terminal building, which includes the installation of the conveyor belts, which is expected to be completed by the end of this month. He says they are also expected to start the installation of the scanners and have them in place also by the end of the month, and that the partitions for the administrative offices will be completed within the next week or two. The IADC CEO says what remains to be done are the counters, public seating, and the installation of some other systems, which he says should be in place by the end of September. Speaking on behalf of the U.S. company ThyssenKrupp, Manuel Torres told the members of the media that they are excited to be a part of the project and that they have been in the planning and coordination exercise since early 2014.
Taken a lot of coordination with IADC's engineering team, the general contractor, to be able to custom design the equipment that you see here at Port Now. The equipment that you see here behind you arrived this week, and we're in the process of being able to get it from this point into Argyle, planning the logistics, customs clearance, and so forth. We have 2 passenger boarding bridges that we'll be installing starting next Monday. 2 gates at the terminal that we're adapting these to. Gate 1, Gate 2. We have, due to the layout of the terminal and the apron, we have a vehicular pathway that we're having to extend out, and as a result we have fixed walkways that allow us to get from the terminal over onto the runway, the apron. From that point on, we have 2 of the passenger boarding bridges that will be connected. These machines are operated via a hydraulic electric system that allows the operator, airline agent, or ground personnel to mobilize the equipment to adapt to different ranges of aircraft.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who was also on hand at the port, says jet or air bridges are of great importance for the functioning of the airport and its competitiveness, as several regional and international destinations don't have them installed.
Those who are not familiar with these air bridges may be asking, why is it that you are making such a big thing about these? Well, just think of this. St. Vincent our country has an annual average rainfall of 100 inches of rain. Quite a lot of rain. And there are some months, some days, several days in some months, you have a lot of rain. Now, just think of this. You take a flight from London to come to St. Vincent, from New York or Toronto, and after you have been on your aircraft, your plane, your aircraft as a passenger for several hours, and when you arrive and it starts to rain or it is raining, you know how irritable you get. Even when you're in Liat going to Barbados and you only have 50 passengers on board, much less to when you have a much larger number aboard. The air conditioning system is not working on the plane. People standing up in the passageway, they're coming out, they're told to sit down because the umbrellas are not yet there. The buses to come on the tarmac to take you. It's not a good experience. You know that and I know that.
PM Gonsalves made it clear the benefits of the international airport will not be seen now, and that it is important to have all the necessary equipment in place.
After I'm finished, I don't want you to say, well, look, he left the airport for us, and we have to go and spend now, in 10 years' time, so many millions of dollars to put in air bridges. Because, mark my word, whether you bring them now, or you bring them 15 or 20 years hence, you have to bring them. And you're only going to make life more uncomfortable and difficult for the period. It's the same way in which the airport is designed in a manner that you don't have to do anything to it for another 30 plus years. Of course, you have to maintain it. You see Antigua and Barbuda, their airport, how they have to spend a lot of money now to redo their terminal building because of where it was done first. What you will have to do any extension 30-something years from now is not going to be significant. That's how we are building it. And we have enough space. I just want you to know that. So I'm not just thinking about today. It's not easy to find the money for these. People may say it's not necessary. The contract for these is 1.9 million US, to purchase them and to have them taken from here to Argyle and to be installed for the 3-4 weeks that they're taking them to do so.
Dyslexia is a disease that must be dealt with sooner rather than later to avoid placing any more of the nation's youth in a position of grave disadvantage. The Rotary Club's district governor from Barbados, Milton Innes, delivered this message as the Rotary Club gets ready to tackle dyslexia, working with the theme, Be a Gift to the World. Dyslexia is a reading disorder which is a learning disability characterized by trouble reading despite normal intelligence. Some of the telltale signs include sounding out words, spelling words, reading and writing, and comprehension of what is read. The difficulties that occur with dyslexia are not voluntary, since the affected persons have a normal desire to learn. The Rotary Club's district governor has proposed 3 ways in which they will be going about helping the affected youth, and urges the members of the club here to work diligently to ensure that they are able to be of great assistance to the nation's youth diagnosed with the disorder.
One is to bring awareness to communities via letting people know what dyslexia is, what is available in their community to help, and where to find it. The second approach is to adopt a child. Quite often, children who may have dyslexia or some form of learning disorder might not be able to afford to have the treatment or indeed to have the test. So I'm asking clubs as well to look at that approach. And lastly, we have not many people who are trained in special education in this district. People who can recognize when a child may have symptoms and so on, and people who can train and assess. So I'm asking them also to look at that avenue as some way of helping.
Member of the local Rotary Club, Shafia London, says that the organization is prepared to do their part to tackle dyslexia head-on.
So we will be working with a number of entities and stakeholders to ensure that we assist the community, particularly those who suffer from dyslexia or those who are impacted in some way or some form. As he said, it's not a disability, it's a unique way of learning that we as a Caribbean may not have necessarily adapted just yet properly, and so we would be working this year to ensure that we provide some sort of resource assistance to persons who have dyslexia.
London says the Rotary Club will also be continuing its Village Doctor program by providing free medical services to persons living in rural communities, and that there will be a new addition to the program this year.
This year we have a special project that we will be initiating, a medical trust fund. As a Rotary Club, we receive numerous requests from persons seeking medical assistance overseas. The Rotary Club is part of a huge international network, and we will be hoping to use this network to provide assistance to persons who are in need of medical care, but we will do so by setting up a trust fund and offer such assistance. We as a club, we are also hoping to work much closer with the School for Children with Special Needs.
One European company is hoping to take SVG to the next level by digitalizing communication between citizens and the various government departments. This system is expected to make life easier for many, for example, persons awaiting permission for construction. The geodetic company Herdlicka is a family business originated in the Czech Republic and has in recent times expanded into other regions in Europe. It is now looking to do business in the Caribbean, including here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. According to the CEO of the company, Martin Herdlicka, the company, which specializes in geographical information systems and develops software, internet and mobile apps for surveying, was up to yesterday in talks with a partner that he says he cannot disclose at the moment. Herdlicka Export Project Manager Andres Herdlicka says his company can provide a new technology to this country that he is certain will be able to take the country further into the technological age.
So we came to explore the opportunities in St. Vincent because we thought that the things that we do, that we are good in Europe, could have some possibilities here as well. So we came to explore what kind of possibilities are here. Well, as we said, it's internet services, and they're really useful in Europe in very different kinds of ways. And this is just one step forward that St. Vincent could make, and the people could use these kinds of things, and it could push them into some other level.
The Czech company has provided assistance to SVG in the form of relief following the December 2013 floods and equipment to the National Society for the Blind. This country's prison population now stands at 454 inmates. This was disclosed earlier today by Acting Superintendent of Prisons Brenton Charles during a brief ceremony to mark the closing of the criminal session. According to a list which was published by the Prison Department, there are 132 males and 1 female sentenced by the High Court, 218 males and 1 female sentenced by the Magistrates Court. There are 29 non-nationals serving sentences and 5 awaiting preliminary inquiries. Patrick Lovelace is the lone inmate on death row. And today, a jail term of 10 years was handed down to 36-year-old Ian Irvin Abbott, a construction worker of Welcome, by Justice Katian Lachu on a charge of manslaughter. Abbott was initially indicted on a murder charge when he reportedly inflicted stab wounds to the abdomen of the now deceased Adrian Thomas during a fracas over a pair of stolen shoes. However, he opted to plead to the lesser charge of manslaughter, which was accepted by the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Colin Williams. Before imposing the sentence, the presiding judge told the accused that he was fortunate that the DPP had accepted his plea of manslaughter.